our next two conversations are about the two divisions in either conference and which ones hold the most true Stanley Cup contenders. So in the East, we'll start with the Metro, and our guy Pat Puff put together a really interesting graphic, and it's playoff rounds won by each division over the last 3 seasons. And you'll see the Metro is dead last with just 50, comparing it to 76 by the Atlantic. And I find that interesting because you look at this division right now, and you're right, I'm not calling the New York Rangers Cup contenders, and I'm not calling the New Jersey Devils Cup contenders at this point. They had 111 points. They were a great story. I don't think I'm calling the Washington Capitals Cup contenders. I honestly think the only contender in the Metro that you can legitimately look at and go, they can win the Stanley Cup next year, it's Carolina, and it's no one else.
I'm with that. That's the only team I wrote down in the Metropolitan Division. I have 3, 6, 8 teams written down as true Cup contenders. I have one out of the Metro. I'll save the rest, I guess. But I'm with you, Tyler. And even with that, their goaltending is still a big question mark, right? Like, they get to the conference final, and they've done so like twice in the past couple years. And when they get there, sure, they run into a very good Florida Panther team, but their goaltending is not able to steal them games, right? Carolina is a team that usually controls the pace of play, has the puck in their possession for a majority of the game, but they don't get those big time saves when they need it most, and that's what hurts them. So even though we are saying Carolina is probably, and I think most people would agree, the number 1 Cup contender out of the Metropolitan Division, still a big question mark in the blue paint for them.
They basically got into my list of Cup contenders by default because I'm like, well, they're the best team in the Metro, and that means I could see them going to the conference final. And if you can get to the conference final, you can win the Stanley Cup. In the Atlantic, it's a bit more of a difficult conversation, I think. Like, obviously, everyone would have Florida in there. Tampa,
only 2 teams for me.
Yeah, I had Florida, Tampa, and then I winced and went, Toronto has $5 million in cap space, but like, I don't know, if they sign Jack Roslovic, I'm not like, oh boy, watch out for the Leafs next year. So I had 2, Florida, Tampa, with Toronto on like a bit of a bubble spot. And then the one team I kind of had is like my fun wild card. How good is Montreal going to be next year? What if Demidov's a 70-point guy and you just add another 70-point guy to that lineup? And what if Dobson helps that blue line take a step forward and some of those young defenders take a big step? Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to, really convince our YouTube chat that the Habs can win the Stanley Cup. I'm just saying they might be more in that Leafs conversation than in the Senators conversation this year.
It's a good point, saying that they're more in the Leafs category than Ottawa's category. But my one concern with Montreal, and again, the only Cup contenders I actually had in the Atlantic were Florida and Tampa. I had Tampa to beat Florida in the first round this year. I still think Nikita Kucherov is at the top of his game. Victor Hedman, obviously, is still one of the best defensemen in the league. And Andrei Vasilevsky was a Vezina candidate finalist this past season. So those 3 guys are still, playing at a very high level at this point of their careers. And, to me, Kucherov could have been MVP the last 2 years in a row and hasn't gotten it. But back to Montreal, they are all skill right now. I don't know if I see any heaviness really outside of Josh Anderson. I know Gallagher can be a little bit of a pest. Suzuki, I'll give a lot of credit to. Like, he has some snarl to his game. It's a little bit quieter because maybe he flies under the radar. But Slafkovsky, I know he said he wants to play more like Matthew Tkachuk after 4 Nations, but I don't see it consistently enough from him. Also a very slow first half of the season the past 2 years for Uri Slafkovsky, and he's heated up in the second half. That line, to me, like Caulfield, Suzuki, and Slafkovsky, when they're buzzing, like, they're one of the more fun lines in the NHL. They just need to be a little bit more consistent throughout the entire season. And then, Kirby Dach, how's his health going to look alongside Demidov and maybe Line A if that's their second line? Zach Bolduc, sneaky, great pickup for Montreal. I thought that trade for Mayu was a great piece of work by Kent Hughes and Gordon. Again, I don't know if Montreal is winning a round in the playoffs, though, right? Like, that's to me what I would consider a contender. At least got to get to the second round, and I don't have a lot of faith that Montreal can do so. And Toronto, I really do think they're going to miss Mitch Marner. I do. I think fans were maybe too harsh to one individual player when it was a collective of guys that couldn't get it done. And I think this year we'll see Mitch Marner do well in Vegas.
Well, on that note, let's go to the West, and we're running a little behind here. So I think we can breeze past the Pacific Division, because are you just in agreement with me? Is it Edmonton, Vegas, and everyone else is just kind of like bleh? Okay, perfect. So we're good. We're on the same page.
I do have Anaheim making the playoffs, though. I will say that. I think Anaheim's going to make the playoffs.
Ooh, I don't mind that take. They're kind of they're a little bit of like Montreal West, although there's another team I think deserves maybe that moniker as well. But let's go to the Central quickly before we get to Cole Bagley, and we're going to talk about Utah. I had Dallas as a cup contender, and you kind of said something. You said the Rangers, like you still have that gross taste in your mouth from last year. I
Yeah.
feel like it's a different thing because they made the playoffs. I feel like Avs fans are almost in that same boat as well, where like everything that happened with Rantanen losing in the first round, do you just feel a little gross about your team? Are you willing to say they are a true top of the line Stanley Cup contender? I have Dallas, and I want to include Colorado, so I probably will. Winnipeg, 116 points, but you lose Ehlers. I'm not putting Winnipeg in there. That's probably my one hot take.
It's fair. Like, again, also with Hellebuck, like I want to say, like at some point he can get hot and just ride them through the playoffs, but we haven't seen it yet. So I would put Dallas and Colorado at this point over Winnipeg. I'm with you on that, honestly. But leaving Colorado out seems a little bit criminal to me, especially because they signed Brock Nelson. So they've got their second line center that they've been missing since Kadri left. Goaltending is probably a question mark, though. Can Mackenzie Blackwood, be a guy that can get them to the Stanley Cup final? I think he's a great goalie. I think that deal, we gave Vic a lot of crap this year when he signed it because Blackwood wasn't really proven yet, but I think he's kind of earned his keep with that. I thought he's been pretty solid in goal for Colorado. And again, like they're 10 minutes away from the second round. Obviously we know what happened in that game 7. They had Brent Burns to the blue line too this year, so that'll help their power play a little bit as well, even though it probably doesn't need much help. The second unit, I guess Brent Burns would end up landing on. And Marty Natchez a full year in Colorado. Also, Gabe Landeskog's back. So a lot of things I think are trending in a positive direction for Colorado this year. I would keep them as cup contenders.